Really quick. Wow. Whoa, 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 whoa. What just happened? The euro dollar just slumped to new lows. What just happened? Hold on. Stand by. Don't go anywhere. Does anybody have any news? What just happened with the euro? This always happens to me on the morning edge. Always happens on the morning edge. I don't know if Bullard's speaking right now, but the Aussie's hitting new lows on the day. Euro's hitting new lows. Stand by. Stand by. Don't go anywhere, folks. 10 billion taper, no big deal, Bullard said, which is why the Fed decided against it, apparently. Okay, that was just come from Zero Hedge, but apparently Bullard just says 10 billion taper would be no big deal. Huh. Okay, and so with that being said, we're seeing some dollar strength. Look at that. Dollar strength coming out of the market right now. We've got the Swissy rallying. For those of you that got long that Swissy with that, just right with those stops below 90.80, you're probably pretty happy you just did that. All right, we are seeing some dollar strength come through the market. Thanks, Bullard. All right, good. Helping my Kiwi short. All right, fantastic. All right, now forget all that for a second because I got more pressing and more important business to tend to. We got Kevin Ferry from Cronus Futures. Let me see if I can find him here in our attendee list. Stand by. Where is he? There he is. And let me see if I can unmic him really quick. Good morning, Kevin. Kevin, are you there? I can hear his microphone. That's the good news. Kevin? Good morning, Kevin. I'm sure you guys could hear him just a second. Let me see if he's Kevin Ferry, Mr. Ferry. Oh, it looks like he just dropped off. Hold on one second. Let me see if we can get his mic. Check, check, check. I can't hear you, Kev. Oh, I can hear your mic now. Kevin? I hear a muffling noise. Check, check, check. Kevin, are you there? Kevin, test, test, test. Let's see here. And Kevin's been a guest on the Morning Edge a few different times, and we've never had a microphone problem. So we'll see if we can work through this. Just stand by. Kevin, are you there? I can hear his mic. Let's see here. I can hear your mic, just can't hear you. All right. Kevin, are you there? And I think I can even hear birds. Let's see. I hear birds. Kevin. Good morning, Kevin. Or did I unmic the wrong person? Maybe, let's see. He said, yeah, I can't hear you either. Checking, okay. I think he is, wow, look at the euros really moving here. He's checking his mic right now. He said he can't hear me either. Let's see. Stand by, guys. Kevin, I'm Excuse me really quick, guys. I'm just communicating really quick. Kevin, are you there? Well, we can definitely hear birds. Can you guys all hear the birds? Chris says that's not birds. That's Kevin's new code. Okay, good. We can all hear birds. Test. Test, test, test. Kevin? Test 1, 2. Let's see. Let's see. Very muted. I'm working with him really quick, guys. Obviously, I'm chatting back and forth with him. I'm going to give him a suggestion because he probably just logged in. May want to, whoops, if you are on a Windows computer, may want to log off and back on. Mic will go hot. Especially if you just plugged it in. As you guys know, some mics, they're actually they're not hot swappable. So what happens is if you've got a mic on, or if you've got a mic and you go to plug it in, and it hadn't been plugged in earlier, your computer's not going to recognize it. So you actually have to log off your computer, log back on, and with the mic already plugged in, that tends to help. And I'm trying to explain that via messaging, and I'm not too sure if that's going to work. Let's see. Let's see. Sorry, guys. We're just trying to get through this right now. We've got Kevin who's working on his mic on his end. Kevin, test 1, 2. Test 1, 2. Well, we saw a little blip in the dollar, but that was short-lived. Looks like the dollar's bounced back a little bit, maybe by about 10 pips. So Bullard's comments actually moved the FX market this morning, but still a very tight trading range. Kevin's still having some microphone issues. Kevin? Hello?
Hello, hello.
Yeah, you're really low. I can hear you just very lightly. Let's see here. Stand by, guys. I'm going to work with Kevin just a little bit here. Stand by.
Hello, 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 hello.
We can barely
Hello, hello, hello.
hear you. Test, Kevin. Test, test, test.
Test, 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 test. Yeah, you got perfect.
It sounds like he can hear me. It's just his microphone is very muted. No, you sound very muted, Kevin. I'm not too sure why. I was trying to explain to you just a little while ago that sometimes microphones aren't hot swappable. So if you're on a Windows machine, well, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, you can hear me a little bit. It's just you're very muffled. So what you might try doing is logging off your computer, or putting your computer to sleep, logging back on, and that might recognize your mic. If you just plugged in your mic, some computers won't recognize it unless it's, it actually goes into like a sleep mode, and then you turn it back on. You might try that because you're really muffled. We could barely hear you.
Okay.
Okay. So Kevin's going to try that really quick, and let's see if that'll work. We might lose him for a bit. Yeah, we just lost him for a bit, and let's see when he comes back on. And sorry, guys, we're just trying to work through these issues. I was excited to have Kevin on, and we've had him on several times, but we're having a little bit of a microphone issue right now. So just stand by. Thanks for all your patience, by the way. Thanks for your patience for all of you is what I meant to say. Let's see. And I'm just waiting for him to log back on. I'm looking for his name. In the meantime, well, we got a little bit of volatility with Bullard. Thanks for that. A little dip in these currency pairs, but they've kind of snapped back. Okay, waiting for Kevin to jump back on. I haven't seen him just yet. In the meantime, while Kevin's trying to log back on, you can see that the Dow futures are down 14 points right now. S&P futures are down 2 points. Copper is copper is kind of muted. Gold's down a little bit. Let's see here. Gold's pulling back, obviously. We've got the euro that after that little push down to 135.10 or so, where we bounced back. The dollar yen's holding on to gains. Canadians waiting for the CPI numbers that are coming out shortly. Kiwi slipped back. Aussie's not too far off of its lows. And Kevin should be coming back here in a few minutes. Hopefully he'll be back very soon. Again, thank you guys for your patience. If you were just now tuning in to the Morning Edge, we will have Kevin Ferry on as a guest. We had him just a moment ago, but we're having some microphone issues. So thanks again for your patience. Usually we've never had an issue with the microphone. What my best guess is that he didn't have his microphone plugged in while his computer was on, and he tried to plug in his computer and it didn't recognize, it didn't take, and that's happened to me plenty of times. So see, I haven't seen him come back just yet, so he may be actually restarting his whole system, which wouldn't surprise me. Okay, in the meantime, like I said, a little bit of volatility. Thanks to Bullard for giving us a little bit of volatility this morning. Seeing the dollar is showing some strength, especially against some of these Nordic currencies. Euro still under a little bit of pressure. Let's see, still looking for Kevin. He has not popped back up just yet. See if I can address some of your questions this morning. Bruce from Arizona, he said that yeah, Chris Baer always had birds in the background. And by the way, just to let you guys know, Chris Baer, or Brazil 61, for many of you that know him as such, he is logged on and listening in this morning. Good morning, Chris. How are you? Let's see. George says it would have been a bigger deal symbolically if the market had tapered by 10 billion. Yeah, we're gonna, and that's, the thing is, oh, looks like Kevin's coming back, so stand by, guys. Stand by. All right, Kevin, can you hear me? You're still muffled. I don't know what's going on. Oh, we can hear you. I hear your birds perfectly. That's the craziest thing.
Are going crazy.
So I'm wondering if your mic is, if you can go to your system settings, like if you look at my computer here, and you go over to your mixer, okay, you can see the mixer right here, and run over and see if you can see your speaker sounds. You might want to adjust some of your sounds to your microphone, because if I can hear your microphone on the birds, that means it's picking up a microphone. It's picking up like your computer microphone. It's and so your computer might be under your desk, for example, and we can hear the mic down there, but the mic that you're talking into, that's probably closer to your mouth, is being muffled by clothes or whatever the case may be. So let me see if I can do anything from my end. Let's see. I can hear you, but it's just very muffled. Again, let's see here. I'm seeing if I can. I can't go to your audio controls. That's the problem. So what I think is happening is we're picking up the microphone from your actual computer, but not the microphone that you're speaking into.
Hello, 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 hello.
Test it. Yeah, it hasn't. It's not changing.
Hello, hello.
I'd hate it, and it sounds like you might even be kicking your computer's microphone. So maybe if you crawl under your desk and we can do the broadcast from under your desk. I'm just kidding. Let's see here. By the way, the euro is trading at lows on the day. And Kevin, could you see see how my system sound says speakers 3 Logitech USB headset? We can still hear you. It's just very muffled. Whatever you're brushing against, whatever is whether it's your feet or whether it's your legs, maybe is brushing up against your computer microphone, and that's the one that we're picking up. You gotta love technology, right, folks? Kevin, test.
Yeah, I can't. I'm trying to override it.
Yeah, I can hear you. It's just muffled. Like I said, wherever your computer microphone's at, that's what I'm hearing from you at the moment. It's your computer mic. And it's not the microphone that's actually plugged in. So, and Alan says go to the webinar control panel. I'm there. I can't adjust his settings from where I'm at. Speaker setup. Let me see if I can test. Kevin, are you there? Test. Hey, Kevin, this is what I'm gonna do for. I'm gonna make you a presenter. Okay? Are you there? Can you hear me, Kevin? No, I don't even hear him. If I make you a presenter. He may be able to go in and adjust his own settings. Kevin, are you there? Okay, there you go. Now, do me a favor. I'm not going to be able to see this on your computer, okay? But if you can go to the GoToWebinar settings. Okay, now I can hear you. Still sound muffled. Are you there?
Yeah.
Hey, Kevin. If you go to the webinar, the control panel, you can go to your settings. Now that you're presenter, you can go to your settings and see if there is let's see, you go file, or no. Go to mic and speakers and click onto that settings, and it should show you what microphone you're using. Not on that one. On the go-to. Oh, hey, I can hear you perfect now.
Hello?
Tess, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, I can hear you now.
Okay.
I think making you a presenter worked.
As long as the people can, I got to boot this, but as long as they can hear it, then that's fine.
No, they can hear you. They can hear you perfectly, I'm sure, and I can hear. Hey, everybody, let me know if you guys can hear Kevin Ferry. And everybody wants to know if that's you playing tennis on top of that building in Dubai.
That's better on top of the Dubai.
How you doing this morning, Kevin? I'm glad we got that sorted out. How you doing, sir?
All right, I'm doing good. It's good to be here. A little bit of monkey business, but to be expected.
It is to be expected. It's to be expected. Hey, I want to once again. Well, as you know, I can actually see your desktop. And
yeah, we're going to boot this up so you can see some stuff here.
Oh, fantastic. So I wanted to first of all say thank you so much for being here with us this morning. And of course, we got past the technical issues, and it's great. It only took us 15 minutes, but no problem. And I want to again thank you for being here. And it was great seeing you on CNBC yesterday.
Yeah, I come back down. I said there must have been a problem somewhere in the world, or they wouldn't have been calling us again. But a lot of questions. I'm sure we'll address some of them today. A lot of questions, very few solid answers is the way that we're looking at it. But at least we can show you a few things that we were looking at.
Yeah, and well, as you're getting everything up and running, I wanted to ask you really quick. So, how off guard were you caught, if you were, by the Fed's actions on Wednesday? I mean, I was telling our traders, I said, there's probably a 20% chance or less that the Fed's not going to taper, and of course they don't taper. And well, I think it caught a lot of the market off guard, but how did you take it, and did it catch you off guard?
Well, in all honesty, no. I mean, it didn't catch us off guard. I'm going to show you why. But we had to exit. I thought if you were going to go in after the number, I mean, even if they did taper, you're going to buy. So, I mean, I think some people were smart enough to just say, well, I'm going to buy it anyway, so I'm going to buy some now. But from as far as buying treasuries at 5 notes in particular, that was more like something that I was going to do after the fact. So, but this is how we were able to survive it, because this move here, this is the spread of these colored euro dollars that we've been talking about. This is the blowout into the stratosphere over the summertime. And so this is a 1-year spread. The 2-year spreads went out to 210, 230, 220.
Wow.
And so when I mentioned yesterday was that we were pricing in things that we felt was as much as a 40% reduction. The idea that they would do 10 or 20 was, a joke. So we were just trying to wait for the initial reaction. But this here, so we were actually short, and I remained short this spread here. As you can see now, these moving averages were trying to go up. They failed. It's in a corrective move. But I think that this part of the curve is far too wide over time. It should be down in here. So we went in short, but this is a guy blowing out. I mean, the volume was excessive, 14 to 17,000 spreads were bought in here, and so here you can kind of see them. If you go to the 2-year spread, I mean, this is basically the anatomy of a disaster. That the CTA community had already embraced the idea that this stuff was going to come in.
Wow.
And so they're playing out here where it's a little bit sketchy already, and here, and so you can see this is the type of thing where this community is looking to be short these things, and here he is blowing out right beforehand, and so 210, 220, this is just ridiculousness, and then you have a bearish divergence develop, and here comes the Fed not acting. So this, when my comment yesterday on TV, this is a perfect graphic representation. The idea was that rates adjusted to the fact that there was no taper. That is just not what's happened so far. All they did was return from the extreme overposition that, of steepness that they were in prior to the Fed. So this is it. This is Voyager leaving the solar system. These spreads are wider than they've been in any other tightening or easy cycle, and so the idea of tapering is what I would say is only a small portion, if any, of what is actually taking place in the marketplace, and that is that, and I guess the one point that I'd make to start the thing is that the overwhelming, overriding theme that people have been promoting since quantitative easing started was, if not for the Fed, rates would be dramatically different. They would be at some other allegedly higher place. What these forward rate structures show is that's just not true, and in fact we are in that place, and they are doing all that, and the fact that they said they were going to keep doing it didn't even move them.
Right.
In the same place they were before, and I think that's the significant. Now we obviously I said this is how we're playing it. The relationships we feel are starting to balance out. We're long some of the spreads in the front. They're up a couple basis points. We're short the spreads in the back. They're either down or not out as much. That's what we think is the adjustment over time that the Fed's looking to happen.
Okay. One second, Kevin. Before you go on, I just want to ask everybody else. Can everybody see Kevin's charts? Okay, everybody can. Nick is the only person that can't. He keeps tweeting me. That's why I was just asking really quick. Yeah, and Nick, you might have to log out, and log back in. I do it quick. It'll take you 1 minute. Everybody else can see it. I'm not too sure why your computer didn't adjust. Now, Kevin, you're showing us the chart of the euro dollar futures, and you're short right now. And how do you feel about the Fed's actions, and you're saying it really hasn't affected the market too much. How do you feel about what's the reasoning behind them not tapering? Was it because maybe rates were getting a little too out of control as far as
well, that's a good point. That's where we were going to go with this, and I think what you're seeing in the last 48 hours is that there's some people are looking at them and trying to create some type of conspiracy theory. This is the outright. Here you can see the market was already adjusting prior to the Fed.
Sure.
This is rates rising. This is rates falling. But I don't buy into the conspiracy theory. I would put it to you this way: the Fed is going to go down the path anyways. But certainly two things. Summer's withdrawal gave them a lot of flexibility because now they have a team player that is fully involved in the discussions that have already taken place. And so he gives her a full range of options to increase, decrease, or remain the same with regard to the future policy. Where if it was Summers, then the Fed would be more inclined to act, and they're basically then passing him that policy. It's now your job to wind it down, right? Rightly or wrongly.
Right.
Second of all, I would say that the Bernanke has a very keen sense that the Congress is a mess, and that they don't like the idea of the debt ceiling. They don't like the idea of the government shutdown, and most of all, Bernanke or Summers or Yellen does not like the idea that they are sequestering spending and cutting back harder than they would advise at this stage of the game. Now, there's a lot of inefficiencies, and I'm not a Krugman advocate of fiscal policy, but the Fed is very cognizant that restraining fiscal policy in this environment, in the fashion that they're doing, is not the most optimal way to do it. And so those two things, I think, combine for them to say, let's just continue for now and then see what happens as the budget debate, moves forward.
Yeah.
Lastly, I would say that my experience with the Fed is their contacts in the business community are excellent. Most people think it's an ivory tower institution that's kind of removed from everything, but that's not the case. In fact, their contacts are very good, and I think that the finally reaching the point where nationalized health care is affecting the decisions. You can see major companies either opting out or dumping their retirees or their workers into the exchanges. And while that's happening, it's altering the movement of those projections at the CBO. So I think that the business contacts in the world, back to the Fed, said we're really uncertain about what's going to happen next year, right? Because of this, it's a big portion of what they do, and so that again just opted for the Fed to buy them. So I don't believe it's a conspiracy. I think we're going down that road anyways soon, and I think that's really going to be the key for us as traders. To recognize that we've got and I think what the spread shows is that they didn't really fool, right? Oz didn't give anything to the Tin Man as far as colored Eurodollars are concerned, right?
Right.
Bill Gross bought at least 17,000 Sept 14s. I'll show you that if I can prove it.
Oh my gosh! I mean, he had the biggest.
And then he was on Bloomberg the next day saying, "Oh, what's your favorite trade? Oh, it's these Sept 14 Eurodollars." They must have been like, "Who is this guy? What is this guy talking about? This isn't Tesla. This isn't Apple stock. What, But here's, this is what he bought prior to the Fed, and there they are. Boom. That's not a big. That's only about 5 basis points, but I think that he gets. He's probably looking for them to return somewhere up here, for the amount that he purchased. And you can see again, well before the Fed last week, this market gapped up, right? So I think that the market was better positioned in the colored Eurodollar strips than many other markets for what transpired.
Right. Okay. Well, yeah, he did. I mean, he had a big smile on his face both times I saw him on TV the day of the FOMC and after. So.
Yeah, that's a serious amount of jack. And they're very aggressive players here. So if we look at, and then I'll let people ask questions because I'm sure it's more confusing than not. But here's the bond. And I think the bond's probably the least interesting of the belt. The 5s and the 10s are probably more, a better place to play. If you weight those, one of the main things we've been doing is weighting those purchases against shorts elsewhere as the curve kind of steepens in certain places and flattens in other. And here you can see that this is a big day. It's 2 days nested back. I think you should find buyers for the bond today. Here you can see it crossing up, and that ultimately here overall the 5-year and the 10-year I think would be better places to be. That's my own personal opinion. There are people that want to reach for duration and look for kind of another twist type of event that the Fed concentration will be out on the curve, and that you know what I mean. They'll pull the long rate down with but I think volatility adjusted, risk adjusted. I'm not sure that from a trader standpoint, it's the greatest thing in the world. But here's the disaster. This is the convexity nightmare. This is where we got hurt. We started buying in here. Look good. Then you got more coupons, disaster, negative convexity, disaster, and overall, this was the going down in late here, August, September. The rest of the market was actually holding up pretty well.
Now, you were talking about last time, and you were just with us maybe I want to say 3 or 4 months ago, and
Right.
you the last time you were here, you were telling us how rates were going to, whether we like it or not, rates are going higher, and
Yeah, I think that's what I was going to dig out. I don't want, everybody was there. We know talked about a can of corn short. Is
yes, yes,
that the upside was very limited to go against you, and that if the market turned, the CTA community was going to jump all over this
right,
idea. And so here it is, right here. And we did okay, and then it actually got really freaky, and so. We got burned a little bit on this, but you had to have the liberty. The problem with buying this spike here. Here's the trade that we were advising the last time we were on. The market was right in here, and you could see it break, and it went down. This is June 14. These are very, then it stabilized in early June after the China Shibor event. But then you can see here that it spiked again, and this is the emerging market disaster where funding, really, when I talk about the difference between the front and the back, this move here is full-fledged panic system seizure.
right.
And this is where Hills and Rath was dragged out to say, look, this is not tightening. This is not where we're going. And you saw this. Now, to picture this chart relative to that bond chart that we were just showing, the bond kept going down, and this was trading okay. And I think that's the key to the steepness, that the Fed said, okay, we're okay with this. They were not okay with this.
Yeah,
That's
right.
when they released the Hills and Wrath and try and get the market back up.
Isn't it, now you say you're not a conspiracy theorist, but boy, that's conspiracy theory right there.
Well, they do want to. They are using. They are, by their own admission, signaling the market. You can see the difference in what took place. Those were going this way.
Right, right.
They do use those contacts in rhetoric and speeches, to try and signal the market. And conversely, what I would say is that those signals also tell me that they're seeing something that they're worried about, right? I mean, notice
Yes.
the Hills and Wrath was not, in the rest of the summer, Hills and Wrath was absent from the, most of his articles were pretty mundane, and he was trying to time them late in the afternoon for impact because they weren't really good, sourced news. So
Right.
so net, then we can, we'll let the people ask questions if they have. But net,
Sure.
I would say
Yes.
that you can see that the market is imbalanced. The actual movement thus far from the Fed has been muted, in our opinion. If the no taper move is going to be successful, there's still plenty of meat on the bone to bring these spreads in and rates down. In a fashion that may be sleepy, but that's okay. I mean,
I don't think any of us mind sleepy.
craziness isn't necessary.
Right, right, exactly. Well, okay, that's. I have a couple questions for you then, and then there are questions that have been coming in, and I've had people asking them for the last couple of hours. Now, in regards to communication. And I heard your comments yesterday while on CNBC, and I'm 100% in agreement with you as far as the communication efforts of the Fed. They should just really, I think that was a bad move for the Federal Reserve a couple years back. I've been pretty vocal on my webinars about that as well. But your reasoning was pretty funny because you said, well, it just makes us all look like we really don't know what we're doing anyway.
Yeah.
So again, you have a situation where the Fed, whether you say it, we could say it miscommunicated or whatever way we want to clarify it or phrase it or section it off as, regardless, the communication was broken somewhere because the investment community was expecting something and what they got was something different. So,
Right.
so what do you say about the Fed and the credibility of their communication efforts, if you will? Maybe not so much the credibility of the Fed, but their...
Right, and I think that's a key takeaway, is that clearly these guys elected to spend some political capital that the Bernanke Fed has gained, during the the monetization of the debt crisis. So they elected to do that, to spend that in his administration. I do think over time it takes, they take a hit for it. I mean, whether it's evident in the marketplace already by a relatively muted response, or whether it happens the next time, right? But
Sure.
my own opinion, and I think this was probably the universal opinion of the trading community, was we're ready for you, so why not do it? And if you're, because the Fed does take serious the idea that they're that they're trying to trick us, that there was some benefit to saying one thing and doing another. They do not think that way, and you can talk to them directly about that. That's not what they're trying to do. It's anti-productive in the short term and definitely in the long term when you talk
Sure.
about a credibility standpoint. So, I think that it is relevant to say that, well, if we'd like to believe it was sinister, but if it wasn't sinister, then what was it? And I would lean on those things: a dysfunctional fiscal policy, a dysfunctional Congress, and the potential for for the Fed to be perceived as tightening. Right, rightly or wrongly, it's a type of tightening, and
Sure.
less easing, and to be perceived as that, and then have a government shutdown or something go wrong. I think they weighed those two options and said, look, we're going to do this again in November or December or January anyway, so why not just wait?
Why not wait until we get past some of these hurdles that we have to deal with fiscally? That makes a lot of sense. And now I'm gonna ask you one last question. This could be a loaded question. This is coming from me, and then I've got a few questions from some of our viewers. If at some point, and this has been my argument, and of course timing is always everything, but this has been my argument maybe for the last year. At some point, you have to, as a market participant, and you can also argue this point with me saying, well, the market is not the economy, but at some point, do you think it's just that we are concerned as market participants that the economy is sluggish at best, and if you look at GDP forecasts that even the Fed, the projections that they put out on Wednesday are coming down going into 2014.
Yeah, they lowered everything.
They did.
I think that was key, part and parcel to not moving, by the way, too. They would have really looked foolish if they'd have stayed with some of their old projections and then not moved. But at least there was continuity there.
Well, what's the risk then? Again, this could be a loaded question. What is the risk that market participants like you, like me, but more of the big institutions start saying the Fed's been at this now for several years, and they've given us, continuous quantitative easing, and they continue to do so, but we're getting now limited impact to, the diminishing, returns, if you will, with Fed action. At what point does the Fed, and again, I don't know if this is even a valid question, but at what point does the Fed lose control? Or of the market, where the market says, wow, it doesn't matter what you guys do because it's not helping? Is there a risk to that?
Well, I think that's why they introduced this idea of cost-benefit analysis as a way to move off of it. I think that's baloney, right? They're basically saying it doesn't work, so we'd stop doing it. But with my inclination is this, and we talked about this before. The expansion, weak as it is now of average duration and average employment gains. Everyone says they're below average, but they're only comparing them to post-disaster recovery.
Sure.
Normal recoveries, we're about, we're like a C+, C- type of recovery overall. And now this is as stretched as my thinking gets, but this was very true when the funds rate was stuck at 1%. Prior to the great credit cycle, right, after 2001. And that is, we've got to get this up before the next recession hits. And I think that's why the Fed has done a lot to distinguish between two things: LSAP activities and the funds rate, because it is completely possible that the only thing they will get off before the next recession hits in a normal cycle, right, of a normal cycle would be LSAP, and the rate would still be at 0. And so they want to be able to say, well, we're going to do this again. And now everyone jumps to the Japan scenario, right, where they had to do it. Okay, I'm not necessarily going there yet. I'm not necessarily saying that that's the amount, but there is precedent for this idea that you've got to do what you can to, because the tools are limited here, and so it may be more a way of getting the thing off the floor before the cycle turns, because I do think that the downticks now are troublesome for them in the economy, right? Because all they can really say is we're going to do more, we'll give you rights, and then the market just says we're done with this.
Okay, so I totally get you. So what you're saying is that because they're doing everything they can to try to turn the economy, because should there be another recessionary cycle, which there will be. I mean, as you know, being in the business, at least another 15 years longer than myself, that it is part of the economy, these cycles. And so before the next recessionary cycle hits, they want to have the tools available to them to come back at it again if they have to, which unfortunately, as you pointed out, could look like Japan, but we're not going to go there just yet. All right, great analysis.
We're not, right. There's still many cultural and structural differences between us and Japan, but from a policy tool standpoint, this is all you got, and that's what the zero bound is all about. So I'm sure that's, in their own mind, that's why the discussion is still about, moving back away from this. And let's go back to the last, time we talked. The conversation starts with this fact: no one has ever done it. No central bank that has ever entertained the blowing up of its balance sheet to save a debt depression has ever unwound it. And so the idea that this central bank is going to be the one that does is okay, let's, Team America. But the reality is it's never been done.
Right. All right, that's a great point. Okay, so I've got a couple questions, and thank you so much, Kevin, for your answers. I got a couple questions. Like Melinda says, question for you, Kevin. What does he think about the direction of the euro dollars? And I think we talked a little bit about that, but she says going out to 2015, 2016, and then also I'm going to also queue up a question. Do you mind explaining euro dollars just a bit, because FX traders might go, oh, you're talking about Eurodollar futures, but it really has nothing to do with currencies. So, well, the FX market anyway.
Right. This is the short deposit. The thing about to remember, well, to answer the first question, is we own the 14s and the 16s, and we're short twice as many in the 15s. Right? Just because that was the way we were managing the risk from the number, from the Fed. But, overall, I would say that that's a bullish configuration. You would think that euro dollars would be rising and rates on the forward curve would be falling. And so, that's what Gross thinks. That's what we think. That's what the Fed kind of wants. We're not making any statement beyond the fact that these things were priced for Armageddon, so we were going to buy them. If the Fed did taper, we were going to definitely buy them after the fact. And when they didn't, you just had to pay up with everybody else. So,
right.
But from a very simple standpoint, the cool thing when we talk about rates, when you look, the cool thing about Eurodollars, as one of the original practitioners that helped build them, was that think of them as strips of zero coupons, because even though we're talking about Sept 15 or Sept 16, we're talking about the 3-month rate, the 3-month money market rate at that date in the future. You're not talking about the term. You're not talking about, right? So you have to string those little zero coupons together to create this forward rate curve, basically. And so the futures become like an exponential representation of those forward strings of rates. And so when I say that you can look, out into the future, strips of Eurodollars are, an extremely beautiful and mathematically elegant way to do that. Now that obviously post the LIBOR scandal, they've things have changed in the industry as a whole, but the term structure and the rate structure of these things is still the best, view of them. And then you can play a lot of monkey business with where that fulcrum point of is that the Fed calls forward guidance, right? Because the market pegs those forward guidances against those things, and that's where the curve basically begins to twist in and out.
Yes, right,
And
exactly.
that's why so we've leaned, right now we're going into the Fed, we were long the 14s because they were cheap, and long the 16s because they're cheap if the curve's flattening, and short the 15s in case it goes bad, because that should be that's right where the punch bowl gets taken away allegedly. So, and it's balancing out. I mean, it's just not doing it as rapidly as we thought it would.
Yeah, okay, very good. Esther asks, with the continuation of quantitative easing and current overbought, overvalued equity markets. Now, that's an opinion. I'm gonna say that's an opinion of Esther. We're running up into new highs. How will that impact the currency markets, gold, and equities in the coming months? And I'm not too sure if you want to answer any of that, but I thought I'd throw that out.
Yeah, I mean, those to me, our tack has always been since we started, coming on your show periodically, is that we're on the backside of the great credit super cycle. We're on the inside of the monetization of the debt collapse, debt depression, and so it's rates that matter, and all those other things take their cue from rates. So, the extreme focus on the S&P, I think, is just a function of culture and if anything, that the S&P is showing the broadening new highs in the wealth gap and also the gap between the market and the real economy. I mean, if we were growing at 4.5% or 5% like we should be, then the stock market, I guess, would be 10,000 handles higher than here. But
Exactly.
the reality is that they're being monetized behind the debt super cycle that's being monetized, and so I think that the currency moved in was I saw the FX had a nice move up on that. I think that was probably the best way to play it. It remains a currency that people feel should be lower and never goes lower, and I think that the big currency trade that we would say to watch out for now is going forward with this is Japan again, and most importantly the Chinese renminbi. We feel that the big event for 2014 is going to be the full floating of the renminbi, and after some initial hype, we expect it to fall hard, and that's going to be a surprise to people, because I think that most people still believe that currency would go up if it's the more it floats. And,
Absolutely.
So that's going to stress, and the Japanese yen falling has put that pressure on China to do that. And so I think that those are the currencies to watch. Watch the paper for squabbles in the islands that are disputed between the two countries. Those squabbles are a manifestation of currency wars. They're not a manifestation of really wanting an empty piece of land in the middle of the Sea of Japan. And so so I think that's the big event that we could see, maybe even in the first quarter of next year. I think is going to be a move to float the Chinese yuan.
Wow. And again, this is a personal opinion. I understand, but when do you think it would be completely convertible and floating?
Well, I think that given where it's at right now, that the first jump would be significant, and they've done a lot to reinforce their. See, the reason it didn't before was because the banking industry wouldn't handle it, but when you see what they did and that caused that spike in funding rates back in May and June, by banging on the shadow banking committee, by banging on shadow banking, they are basically prepping for that event, saying we're going to make you guys deleverage now, so we don't so you don't get caught off guard if the currency begins to float. And so I think that was a signaling event, and it was not pretty at first, you know what I mean? It caused repercussions that were far deeper. You know, when Rick Santelli's talking about Shibor on TV, like everyone cares. I mean, the front Eurodollars were getting smacked.
Right.
I mean, it was hitting right here in the dollar value because they begin to have to swap per dollar. You know, foreign reserve central bank and foreign what they call dollar, FX reserves. They can't get them. They have to go bid for them, and because they're exiting their own countries faster than they create them. So, and you can see how India stabilized. India had a big bounce, and the reason was the Indian central bank has been doing central bank swaps with the Fed, to help stem the flow of currency out of their country.
Yeah, and well, I mean, I guess the good news, if that does happen and it does become floated, the thing is if we do see a weakness in the renminbi, as you think, and I actually would agree with you on that point, that would be a real big swoon to China, in a little bit longer term, I would think.
Huge.
Yeah.
It changes the game for a lot of the bears, right?
Right.
With regard to now the near-term volatility when it happens, I mean, it obviously be extreme. If you are short it and it spikes, you know what I mean? Because
right.
The initial reaction could be violent, but the fact is, I think it definitely changes the game and starts to give them the ability to monetize a lot of the debt overhang that they've accumulated, late in the debt cycle.
Right. Okay. There's a couple other questions really quick. Johan and Melinda are kind of around the same question. What's your take on rates, how they are going to affect the emerging markets? We were just touching on that actually. And then Melinda said, if you feel rates are going to go up despite what the Fed is doing, which I'm under the assumption that you feel that rates are going to continue to go higher over time, as you pointed out last time we talked, that rates, they are going up, and whether we like it or not, they're going up from here. She also asked, what's the better instrument to trade? Would you say like the euro dollar futures, or perhaps like the 10-year? And I think we covered that earlier, or you did.
Yeah, well, my personal preference is always going to be the 5-year, just so you know, because as we go back to normalcy, the 5-year is going to be the best indicator of the ins and the outs of it. In other words, when you could see flashes of that during the summertime, and that is when rates really start to rise. The 5-year becomes a toxic waste dump of selling, and people will try and short it against any other piece of paper, and that's why we tend to watch that, and even over the 10, but most of the majority is 5s and 10s. The trading, from a trader standpoint, that's where you stay. But when things get out of line, and for less active, or put something on the shelf that you can, reduce the volatility in your trading, and just know that you're kind of have some exposure to the concept. That's where you trade Eurodollars. That's where we were saying. I mean, the ability to get in and out of these things on a day basis is minimal. You're not going to pick these guys off, and so, but you can, at least take the longer term view and say, well, look, these things aren't going to, steamroll me while I'm waiting for this to happen, and then that's what, because you have to trade them out in the 14s and the 15s. The front stuff is not worth talking about, obviously. So one's a function of the other. But yeah, that's my own personal opinion.
Okay. And Bamal says, great microanalysis. I got a question for you, Kevin. What are your feelings on the ongoing battle, the 2014 budget? What are the chances of a government shutdown, albeit temporary? Thanks in advance, he says. And as we were just discussing about a half an hour ago, I think maybe that's one of the fears of the Federal Reserve, and why they decided to say, hey, we're going to go through with this, but let's just wait for a little bit. But what do you think personally the chances are for this struggle, political struggle that we face here in the coming months?
Yeah, that's a good point. My own cynical opinion is that they should just default on all the bonds that are at the Federal numbers that are at the Federal Reserve, anyways, just to see what happens. I mean, you could just wipe it out. I mean, they're just. But that's this way I think. But My own opinion is that they're not going to do it. Internally they feel. I mean, a government shutdown to me wouldn't really be that bad of a thing. I mean, it provides a little trading opportunity and volatility in the market, but overall, what's the difference? So you can't go up to Washington Monument for a couple of days. I mean, but they make it into military payments, Social Security payments. That's all baloney. It's all prioritized. I mean, so I think it would show the seriousness of it. But I think they feel that the political capital that they spent, you know what I mean, that it's going to reopen anyway, so they end up looking foolish for shutting it down. You know what I'm saying? And so it just becomes a game of brinkmanship. I think you're just going to have a continuing resolution again. I mean, history books are going to go back and show this is the first president, the two-term president at that never put up a budget. Never. He's all for all. These have been CR, continuing resolutions, all the time. And I think that that's really why the domestic deficit debt situation has been such a big issue.
Yeah, right.
I mean, people that read my blog know that we're not big debt hound. I mean, when you get into the economics of it, we're not as anti-debt as many people are, right? In fact, tax revenues are running at the highest rate ever, and the deficit is falling at one of the fastest rates ever. But you try and get that on the news. I mean, even this administration doesn't even tout that because it would make them look bad to their own constituents for having it happen.
Right.
So, but the fact is the fact. I mean, there is record tax revenue being taken in, and there is the speed at which the deficit is falling is one of the fastest on record. And so now the the reason it's happening is the high tax rates and the sequester. So, I mean, those things can be debated as much as people want.
Well, Kevin, I realized the time, and we got a little bit of a late start today with the technical glitches. Oh, hey, don't apologize. I mean, it happens. It happens to me. And I was just 2 days ago. I was in the middle of broadcasting, and my router just crapped the bed, and I had to go run and replug everything in, and I was down for about 10 minutes, and I mean, it happens. But I just want to take this opportunity to really, first of all, show everybody the Contrarian Corner, and this is your blog that I haven't blogged much, and I promised you, Kevin, I'm going to start blogging a little bit more, and because I do contribute.
Thanks to Chris too. He's done some nice things for us on there.
Oh man, there's been a lot of Chris Baer, is he blogging on here too? Well, Chris has done some good stuff.
A couple of real nice stuff.
DeBrink, obviously Joe, Trading Points puts a lot of stuff on here.
Joe's the master. Joe is the brains behind the operation and has all the charts. He is able to put risk around a lot of the macro ideas that I come up with, and of course then Hooper saves my butt from most of it. If people want to contact me or Joe about that, and
yes,
how we kind of, because it is interesting that people like to look at charts. We show charts because it shows us a graphical representation, but I don't use them, and I don't know them. Joe makes fun of me because the one thing that we Hooper does is give us that opportunity to look at things that don't change. So you can maintain a view of the market that isn't altered by your artistic interpretation of it.
Yeah, and that's and there's a lot to be said for that. I always try to explain to people and traders every day that I can teach you how to use a chart, but how you interpret it,
Right.
it, there's a lot of subjectivity there. And so the Hooper quant model is really very unique, and I suggest that all of you come to the Contrarian Corner, check it out. And what's really funny, Kevin, is when you took over the webinar this morning, and the first thing you did is you pulled up a chart, I almost had to laugh because I remember the very first time I had you on here, and you said, I don't look at these charts. I just let Joe do it. He must be teaching me something.
Right. Whenever I say something, Joe tells me that it's doing something with regard to something, and I can tell by the tone of his voice whether he's saying I'm an idiot or not, but I don't really know what it means. But but it's again, it's you can't really have a web. It wouldn't do you guys any good to look at the Excel spreadsheet. It doesn't move. It's just a bunch of numbers. So, but again, for traders, especially currency traders, where you're dealing with a lot of volatility, the main tip that I would say is, have a discipline that allows you to interact with the market on your terms. People feel like they're being forced, or the market's moving, so I have to do something. There's a lot of moves that in Treasury in rates that I just watch because the discipline is saying this is noise, and then make sure that when you do get your signals or it's trading around your levels that you act. It's a call to action, and I think that's the flip side of the same coin, right? Sometimes you can develop these disciplines and then not act, and when I listen to you and currencies, I think that's the real cool thing about what you guys do in the morning, right? Is saying this is what you're supposed to do, this is when you're supposed to do it. That's the key. You have to be both patient and aggressive, and those are tough things to learn.
Yeah, very, and thank you very much. And so, Kevin, we're out of time. I want to say thank you once again for being here today, and I look forward to our next time that we could have you on as a guest. I know everybody really enjoys, first of all, seeing you on CNBC again. That's kind of nice.
Yeah, I had some fun. Okay. Well, yeah, and just have people reach out to you or to me or Joe, and if they have other questions or more direct, we have no problem taking the time to put our view on it.
And if you want to know that this is Kevin Ferry's, I would call him a partner in market crime right here is Joe, and that's Trading Points. He's the technical side of.
Jeez, look at these followers. That guy has 9,600. He must be popular.
Man, that guy, he is popular. I'll tell you. Hey, Kevin, thank you once again for being here today, and I'll see you on the interweb, I'm sure, later today.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks.
Thank you, sir. All right, and Steve Bealby, you should probably be around, I'm assuming.
Yes, I am. I mean,